Captain Miriam Raye stood at the helm of the USS Serenity, her hands clasped behind her back, gazing at the shimmering stars beyond the viewport. The galaxy had known peace for over a century, thanks in large part to humanity's steadfast commitment to diplomacy. To the other species, humans were revered for their unwavering dedication to peace, respected for their ability to mediate conflicts without violence. They believed humans were afraid of war, terrified of conflict, and eager to avoid any confrontation. Miriam knew better. The Galactic Council, an interspecies alliance, had summoned her to mediate a growing conflict between the Xathi Empire and the Aelthorian Confederation. The Xathi, warlike reptilians, were on the brink of invading Aelthorian space, their patience for diplomacy having worn thin. The Aelthorians, proud and fiercely independent, refused to back down. A war was inevitable unless humanity could work its magic once again. Miriam entered the council chamber, her calm demeanor masking the storm brewing within her. The alien leaders awaited her, each expecting humanity's famous pacifism to cool tempers. She spoke with authority, warning the Xathi and Aelthorians that a war between them would engulf the galaxy, plunging all species into darkness. Her voice was steady, her words carefully chosen. "We must not allow this conflict to escalate," Miriam said, her gaze locking onto the Xathi Emperor. "If war begins, it will be impossible to contain. There will be no victors, only ruin." The Xathi Emperor sneered, his reptilian eyes gleaming with disdain. "Humans fear war because they are weak. You hide behind words, too afraid to fight." Miriam's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She knew the truth. Humanity didn't avoid war out of cowardice, they avoided it because they understood the depths of their own destructive capabilities. In private, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Sam Greaves, asked her if they would ever be forced to fight again. "I hope not," she said softly, the weight of history heavy on her shoulders. "Because if we do, the galaxy will learn why humans fear war. It's not because of what others can do to us, it's because of what we can do to them." The warning had been given. The question was, would anyone listen? Despite Captain Miriam Raye's warning, the Xathi Empire refused to listen. Within days of the Galactic Council meeting, their warships launched a brutal assault on an Aelthorian outpost. The attack was swift and merciless, leaving the Aelthorian forces decimated. What had started as a diplomatic standoff now ignited into full-scale war, and the galaxy watched in horror. Miriam received the news aboard the USS Serenity, her worst fears realized. The Xathi had chosen violence, dismissing humanity's pleas for peace. Now, with the galaxy on the brink of chaos, she was forced to take the next step. She knew what was coming. The Human Defense Union, HDU, dormant for over a century, would be called into action. The very thought sent a chill through her. "They didn't heed the warning," Miriam muttered to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Sam Greaves. "Now we have to go to Earth and ask for something we've long hoped to avoid." Sam nodded solemnly. "The HDU?" "Yes," Miriam replied, her tone grim. "If humanity is going to stop this war, we'll need more than words." As the Serenity set course for Earth, Miriam's thoughts drifted back to the horrors of the Great War. She remembered the devastation that humanity had wrought, the entire world scorched, fleets obliterated, and civilizations reduced to ash. It was that conflict, centuries ago, that had pushed humans to embrace peace. They had seen what they were capable of and vowed never to unleash that terror again. But the galaxy misunderstood this restraint. To the Xathi and other species, humanity's aversion to war was seen as fear or weakness. They didn't understand the truth. Humans avoided war not because they couldn't fight, but because they feared what they would become if they did. Arriving on Earth, Miriam met with the Human Defense Union's leaders. In the great halls of the HDU, she pleaded her case. "We must act," she said. "If we don't, this war will consume the galaxy. But once we open that door, there's no going back." The HDU leaders deliberated, knowing the weight of what they were about to unleash. After a tense silence, they agreed, humanity would intervene, but with one final diplomatic attempt first. The countdown to war had begun. Captain Miriam Raye returned to the front lines with the weight of humanity's decision bearing down on her. The Human Defense Union had authorized one final attempt at diplomacy, but the clock was ticking. War had already consumed the outer systems, and both the Xathi Empire and Aelthorian Confederation were fully mobilized. The galaxy teetered on the edge of destruction. Miriam arranged a summit between the Xathi Emperor and the Aelthorian Chancellor. Held in neutral space, it was humanity's last chance to broker peace. Standing before the two leaders, Miriam once again delivered her plea. "The war is spreading," she said, her voice firm but pleading. "Neither of you will emerge victorious. You must stop this now, or you will force humanity to act in ways none of us want." The Xathi Emperor sneered, unimpressed. "Your humans talk endlessly about peace. You are afraid of war, Captain, because you know you cannot win it." Miriam's face remained stoic, but inside, a storm raged. She had given every warning she could, and now the time for words was over. The Xathi, driven by arrogance and bloodlust, had already launched an invasion of Aelthorian core worlds while the summit was taking place, a clear sign they had no intention of stopping. With a heavy heart, Miriam sent the signal. The human fleet arrived minutes later, emerging from hyperspace in a terrifying show of force. Massive warships that had not seen battle in over a century, now powered up, weapons primed. The Xathi fleet, initially confident, quickly realized the scale of their mistake. In mere hours, humanity demonstrated why they had avoided war for so long. The battle was swift, precise, and devastating. Human ships cut through the Xathi defenses with brutal efficiency, their tactics honed from millennia of war. The Xathi homeworld's defenses crumbled, and their fleet was obliterated in what would be known as the Hour of Ash. Miriam watched the destruction unfold on her view screen, her heart heavy with sorrow. This was why humanity feared war, because when they fought, they didn't just win. They destroyed. As the dust settled, the galaxy was left stunned. Humanity, once seen as pacifists, had revealed their true strength. The peace they cherished had been shattered, and now the galaxy knew the terrifying truth: humans were not afraid of losing, they were afraid of what they could become. The aftermath of the battle left a silence that echoed across the galaxy. The Xathi Empire, once a dominant force, had been decimated in a matter of hours. Their fleet, the pride of their empire, was nothing more than wreckage drifting in space. Their homeworld lay vulnerable, its planetary defenses shattered, and its people paralyzed with fear. The message from humanity had been delivered loud and clear. On the U.S.'s Serenity, Captain Miriam Raye stood in her quarters, staring blankly at a holographic display of the destruction they had wrought. Her heart was heavy, weighed down by the burden of the decision she had been forced to make. In choosing to intervene, humanity had shown the galaxy exactly why they feared war, because when they fought, they unleashed something primal, something unstoppable. A soft knock at the door broke the silence. Lieutenant Sam Greaves entered, his face reflecting the same somber mood and permeated the ship. "Miriam, the Galactic Council is requesting an audience," Sam said quietly. "They're not sure what to make of all this." Miriam nodded, though she already knew what the Council's reaction would be. "They're afraid now, Sam. Not just of the Xathi, but of us." As they made their way to the bridge, Miriam's TFG thoughts raced. The destruction they had unleashed was a necessary evil, but it came at a cost. The galaxy's perception of humanity had forever changed. They had once been seen as peaceful, a voice of reason and calm in the storm of galactic politics. Now, they were something far more dangerous, something that could not be easily contained. The Galactic Council's holographic chamber flickered to life, displaying the faces of the various leaders from across the galaxy. The Aelthorian Chancellor, once a staunch ally, looked at Miriam with thinly veiled fear. The Xathi Emperor, his arrogance now shattered, sat quietly, his scales dull with defeat. Captain Raye, the Aelthorian Chancellor, began cautiously, "We are grateful for your intervention. Without you, the Xathi would have overrun our systems, but the scale of your response, we didn't know humanity possessed such power." Miriam took a deep breath, steadying herself. "We never wanted to reveal it," she said. "For over a century, humanity has avoided war because we know what we're capable of. We feared that if we ever fought again, the galaxy would see the true cost of conflict." The Xathi Emperor, his voice hoarse from defeat, spoke up. "You spoke of peace, but you brought annihilation. Was this your plan all along? To lull us into complacency with your pacifism, only to strike when we least expected?" Miriam shook her head. "No. Our only goal has ever been peace. But when you rejected every diplomatic effort, when you forced our hand, we did what we had to do to end the war quickly. Humanity has never sought war, but we will never hesitate to protect the galaxy from chaos." The council chambers were silent, the leaders processing her words. They had all seen the carnage, and it was clear that humanity, once considered a voice of peace, was now the galaxy's most formidable force. The weight of this new reality settled heavily on them. Finally, the Aelthorian Chancellor spoke again, her voice filled with uncertainty. "If the humans are capable of this, what's to stop you from using it again? How can we trust that this power won't be unleashed on us one day?" Miriam's gaze softened. "That's why we feared war in the first place. Not because of what others could do to us, but because of what we might do in return. We know our own history, and we know that we must be our own restraint. That's why we've spent the last century pushing for peace at every turn, because we understand the price of war better than anyone." There was a long pause before the Aelthorian Chancellor nodded slowly, though the fear in her eyes did not fade. "I hope that your restraint holds, Captain. For all our sakes." With the meeting adjourned, Miriam returned to the viewport, staring out at the stars. The peace they had fought so hard to maintain had been shattered, not by their enemies, but by their own hand. The galaxy now lived in fear of what humanity could do, and while the immediate conflict had ended, the cost of that victory weighed heavily on her. Sam joined her at the viewport, breaking the silence. "Do you think they'll ever see us the same way again?" Miriam shook her head. "No. And maybe they shouldn't. They know the truth now, Sam. We've always been afraid of war, not because we would lose, but because of what we become when we fight." The stars shimmered in the vast expanse, peaceful yet indifferent to the destruction left in their wake. Miriam could only hope that the galaxy would never have to see humanity's full strength again. But deep down, she feared that the beast they had unleashed could never truly be caged again.